Greetings, my name is Monty Martin and welcome back to Isadora 101. In this series of video tutorials, I'm going to be introducing you to the core features and functionality of Isadora 3. Now, in a prior tutorial, we learned how to capture live video from a webcam or another video capture device and use that captured media in real time with Isadora. But today, we're going to learn how we can actually record what we've captured, both what's coming in from a webcam or a video source, but also how we can record what's happening on the stage itself. We can then use these recordings in a variety of ways, because once we record media with Isadora, whether that's a movie from the stage or the camera, or as a still image that we capture, it is automatically imported into our media bin, and we can use it later in our Isadora project, and the files are saved onto our computer, so we can even use those recordings in other projects. Now, there are three main actors that we use to capture and record video and images with Isadora. They're right up here: capture stage to movie, capture stage to picture, and capture camera to movie. They basically do exactly what you tell them to do. We're going to either capture the stage itself to a still image or a movie file, or we can capture the live camera input as a movie file as well. All three of these actors work on very similar premises, but there's some key and subtle differences between each of them and how we're going to use them. Regardless of how we're going to use these actors, though, all three of them are going to be creating files on our computer. And the first step that we'll want to do when we work with these actors is decide where on our computer we're going to store them. Here's how we do that. We're going to go up to Output, and we'll see three options here: Set Captured Media Folder, Delete Captured Media Folder, as well as Open that Captured Media Folder. I'm going to choose Set Captured Media Folder. And now I'm going to have the opportunity to browse to a folder that already exists on my computer and decide that that will be the folder that all my captured media is going to be stored inside. So in this case, I've already created that folder. It's on my desktop. It is the Isadora Captured Media folder. So I'm going to choose that one. And now any recorded media that I create is going to end up inside that folder. This is a global setting that is used for all your Isadora projects. So if you are going to be moving things around, you may need to reset this folder. You can always locate it really easily by going to Output, Open Captured Media Folder, and you'll see what's in there. Right now it's empty because I haven't captured anything. You also do get this option here to delete all your captured media. And something to bear in mind is that once you have captured media with Isadora, you will be prompted when you close Isadora to whether or not you want to clear it out and delete it, or whether you do want to keep it. So be aware that these functions are here, and think about both your hard drive space and where you're storing things. Capturing video is a very processor-intensive task, and it really makes a difference the type of hard drive that you're using to record that media. I recommend, at least in the short term, recording your captured media to a local solid-state drive or a solid-state drive that is attached using USB 3 or better. This will ensure you have the best possible performance when you are capturing that media and saving it. If you're using an older form of USB or an older hard drive, or you're not using a solid-state drive, you might find that you get a little bit of a less than optimal result from that. So when possible, use a solid-state drive, use the local drive on your computer, and make sure that you've got lots of space to spare when you are capturing media. Now, we do have a couple levers that we can pull with this as well. Also, under our output options, you'll notice that we have the option to set our record stage settings and start recording our stage. Under these record stage settings, we can specify the recording size as well as the container, codec, and quality of the video that we want to record. For most purposes, these defaults are fine. You may just want to double check your recording size if you want to record the full resolution of your stage. In my case, that's going to be 1920 by 1080 HD video, or if you want to cut it down to half or quarter size. If you cut down the size of what you're recording, it's going to be less processor intensive, the files aren't going to be as large, but you're not going to have that high resolution result. So think about this carefully as you plan your project and what your objectives for your captured media are. I'm going to leave these things as they are for myself, but this is something that some of you power users out there might want to tinker with. Okay, so with that little bit of housekeeping in mind, we've set our resolution, we've set our captured media folder. Let's explore how one of these actors work. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my next scene here, which this has our familiar video effects actor with the dots and the live capture. So again, I'm going to show my stages, and I'm going to start my live video capture. And there's our effect again. Let's look at how I can capture just a still image of this effect. And I'm going to start by adding into my scene the capture stage to picture actor. This actor is probably the simplest of the three and the easiest to grok at first. But once we figure out how this one works, you're going to quickly figure out how the other two work. Now, the linchpin of all three of these actors is the capture input at the very bottom. That input tells Isadora, hey, take the picture, start capturing the movie, or stop capturing the movie. So we need a trigger here. In this case, I'm going to go with something simple. I'm just going to use a keyboard watcher. But any of those other trigger actors that we've worked with in previous tutorials, you could use these. You just might not want to attach a pulse generator to this thing because then you're going to be taking a lot of pictures. I'm going to make the key just a P for picture. Plug that in. Great. Now I can start using the actor right away now, but I want to fill in one more detail before I do, and that's the file name field. The file name is literally just giving the file name to the picture. So I'm just going to call this dots picture cap. And I'll put in 2 zeros at the end. I kind of like to do that for my own housekeeping reasons, and you'll see why in a moment. Then I'll just click off, and now what we'll do is let's try taking the picture. I'm going to press the P key. Boom. So a few things happen really quickly there. We've now got a new picture in our picture bin, dots picture cap 00.jpg. And you can see from the little thumbnail there, it looks pretty right. And in fact, if I go into a blank scene now and drag this right on in, hey, there it is. Looks pretty good. Was able to just use that just like a picture player and a projector as normal, just like any other piece of media that we would use in an Isadora project. Let's go back to the previous scene though to see some of the things that we can modify with the capture stage to picture actor. So the reality is, don't need to know too much more than that, but there's a couple nuances here that we can explore. I took one picture, but what happens if I take another? Let's press the P key again. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so each time I pressed the P key, it took a new picture and added another picture into my media bin. Great. You can see why I told you not to attach a pulse generator to this thing, because you're going to end up with a lot of pictures really, really quickly if you do that. So they're all JPEGs, and as you can probably figure out already, changing the format is going to change it from a JPEG. We can also have it be a PNG, a BMP, a TIFF, or a GIF, or GIF, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Now, the only key thing to know with the picture format is that if you do want to take a transparent PNG, you'll want to switch your format to PNG, and then the alpha property will light up, like so, and you'll be able to decide whether you've got that transparent element to your PNG images or not. That's not an option when you're using a JPEG. Now, you'll also see that as I captured more images, Isadora automatically added a number to the end. So I have dots picture cap 00, picture cap 001, 002, 3, 4. You can see now why I added those 2 zeros onto the end. It keeps everything nice and organized in the file folder by having those extra zeros. By having even just one extra zero on the end of the number, you're going to make sure that everything stays in the right order when it's in your file structure. Isadora will, once we get a little bit further in there, start adding more numbers onto it, and it will continue to append things. But adding a couple extra zeros just keeps things a little bit more nicely organized, just in my experience. Now, finally, there's two other properties that we can really look at here. The stage property, again, is pretty self-explanatory here. If we're working with multiple stages, switching this input allows us to point the capture at a different stage. If you want to capture multiple stages simultaneously, you're going to need multiple actors to do that. Now, finally, we have this final one here, this property called Pitcher. What is this doing? Well, right now it's set to add, but if I click in here and change its property, it actually just brings up a number. Well, and what's also happened is that the replace field of the actor has now lit up. What does this mean? What is this going to do? Well, to explain it quite simply, when the pitcher property is set to a number, that corresponds to one of the pitchers in our media bin quite directly. So if it's set to pitcher 1, now this capture stage to pitcher actor is pointed at the pitcher file in media bin 1. And now that this is set to replace, when I take a picture, whatever file is sitting there is going to get replaced. So watch what happens. If I now capture that image, dots pitcher cap 00 got replaced. We can actually see the thumbnail changed and updated there. That original picture that I took, it's been deleted. It's been overwritten and replaced with the new picture. And it's been bumped out of the project. Now, if I switch my replace to off, what's going to happen instead is something a little different. I'm going to now capture a picture. Notice the picture number 1 is now dots picture cap 001.png. Notice that because I changed the file type to PNG. Okay, so we can have two files with the same file name, but they've got different extensions. But if I go in here and I go to my output folder and I open my captured media folder, dots pic cap 00.png still exists. It hasn't been deleted from my computer's hard drive, but it has been bumped out of the Isadora project. So you might be thinking, why would you ever use this? Well, it's pretty simple. This picture file is picture file 1. And in this other scene, where I have a picture player and a projector, well, this picture player is always pointed at picture 1 in the media bin. So if I go back to this previous scene with the dots, and maybe I just change what my bright color is here. Now I'm going to take a new picture. Gets replaced. Go over to our new scene. It's been automatically updated. So you can plan the rest of your project out in advance in this way. If you have actors later on in your project that are going to refer to this captured media, you know when you're using this replace function what place in their media bin they're going to be coming from. You don't need to go back and update these. They're locked in place. Because of course we could capture as many pictures as we wanted to capture. But in this way, we don't have to then go and figure out, okay, how do we tell the picture player what picture it's supposed to be pointed at later on in the Isadora project. This doesn't get a little bit heady, but if you do want to reuse your media in this way through your project, this is the way to do it. So that is capture stage to picture. And that gives us a high-level overview of how we can capture picture files and use them later in Isadora. But capture stage to movie works under a similar premise. I'm going to bring that into our scene now. You'll notice that the capture stage to movie is really, really similar looking to capture stage to picture. In fact, they're almost identical twins. In both cases, we have the stage function and we have the movie function, which the movie function for capture stage to movie works in the same way as the picture function for capture stage to picture. We have the file name, so I'll call this dots movie cap 00. And we also have the replace field, but instead we have a start and stop because of course with a movie, we're got to start the recording and stop the recording. So all we need to do here is simply repoint our keyboard watcher. I'll change this to R for record, and bring in another keyboard watcher, and I'll turn that to S for stop. And now we just have two keys, one to start the recording, one to stop the recording. Watch what happens now when I start this. I'm going to press the R key, move around a little bit, and you'll see down here in the very corner, we've got a flashing indicator telling us that the stage is being recorded. So we know if a recording is active, because we can start a recording in one scene and stop it in another. It'll just keep going until we stop it. Press the P key, or the S key, sorry, stop that recording. And there we go. The file is in our video files bin. And now we can work with it in the exact same premise as capturing the pictures. It's a full-on movie file. We can go to another blank scene here. Bring that movie file into the project. And there's the recording that we took before. Not much more to it than that. So now that we've started capturing movies, what about the capture camera to movie actor? Well, the capture camera to movie actor is a little bit different. It has another function field because we have to actually set this function to start or stop that capture. So in the case of capture camera, we're going to make two of them. We're going to set one to start. We're going to set one to stop. And then we're going to grab those same triggers that we were working with before. Plug those in down there. And I'll just rearrange things so we can see all my work nice and clearly here. And now, if I record, I need to add the file name again. And there's the camera cap in our video files bin. But it's different. Look at this file. It's just my raw video feed. There's no effects applied to it. It's getting the raw capture for my camera. Might be useful to you in some ways. Because you can capture all these things independently of one another. You get pictures, you get the stage, you get the raw camera. It's up to you to figure out how you want to use them. Capturing the raw camera is really, really useful if you want to then take this movie and apply a variety of different effects to it throughout your project. Whereas capturing the stage, you've locked yourself into what the stage was actually capturing there. So there's a variety of different things that we can lock in here. But all of these actors give you the tools that you need to create recordings and work with them later throughout your Isadora project. Now that we have got a few recordings here, I'm going to hide my stages and stop my live captures. I'm just going to show you what happens, first of all, in our folder. If I go to Output, Open Capture Media folder, you'll see I've got all the captures that we brought in here. So all these images that we created, all those movies that we created, are all saved here in that folder, and we can access them later or bring them into future projects if necessary. Furthermore, when I go to quit Isadora, I've saved my project. I'm going to quit Isadora. Isadora is now going to prompt me. Do I want to permanently delete from the hard disk all the temporary media recorded during the session? And this is not undoable. So this is a key thing to decide. Am I going to trash all this or not? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say yes. I'm going to delete all of it. And it's now going to ask me, do I want to save the changes that I made to my document? I'm going to say save. Great. Now, let's launch Isadora again and open up that project. Okay, so I've opened the project back up again, And you'll notice that all those spots in the media bin that used to have files on them are now marked as unassigned. They're placeholders. They're empty. And so you'll see here, if I go to Output, Open Captured Media folder, everything's gone. So I wiped my project out. So be mindful of these things when you are using these functions. Plan your project carefully and definitely think about backups. If you do not want to delete all the things that you captured, do not say yes. And in that case, all those things will be maintained and your media bin will be retained when you reopen your file again afterwards. Plan that out really, really carefully about how you want to organize your captured media in the future of the project, because it's really going to influence how your files get organized and just how much space you're taking up on your hard drive. All right, so that is the capture stage and capture camera actors in Isadora. All of these are a fantastic toolbox. They require a little bit of thinking and project planning to get the most out of them, but I am sure you will find creative and innovative ways to use them in your future Isadora projects. Be sure to check out all of our other videos here on YouTube for more from myself in our Isadora 101 series, as well as Mark Coniglio and the Guru sessions, and all the other great tutorials that we have here on the YouTube channel. Be sure to stop by the Troikatronics community forums and our Facebook pages if you want to chat with more Isadora experts from around the world. And with that, we will see you at the next workshop.